Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
What's up, universe? It's the J-Lister, Joe Tantillo, coming to you live from Central New York. It has been a crazy week. If you've seen, we've had some problems with the security on our Twitter. My brother's been giving everybody a really hard time in the transition, which is such a shame because it shouldn't have to be this way. I don't know what his problem is, but he's trying to make this all about him when it should just be about you guys, the fans, and making sure we bring you good content. He's got this weird obsession with thinking he knows more about wrestling than the rest of us. It's bizarre. I'm trying to put it behind us, but, it's thrown us a little bit, and I apologize for the delay in the episodes this week, but he's really been holding us up. We were locked out of our Twitter for a little while, but anyway, we're here. We've got so much to talk about with respect to Raw. I'm excited, and I'm bringing you the news right now, so buckle in because more goodness is coming to your ear holes. It's about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling. First things first, we will cover the Raw Rundown, where I'll give you the most important bits about Monday Night's show. Then we go to our Hi to the People segment, where we engage you on a variation of topics week to week. And this week, we want to know which Raw match do you think will steal the show at SummerSlam this weekend. After that, we're going to take a quick spin to the Indie Corner, where we will be talking about some of the matches that will be potentially coming up in the future, like the Wrestle Kingdom match between the winner of the G1 Classic, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and the current champion, Kenny Omega. And then we will move on, of course, to our main event, where we talk about the question on everyone's mind this week. This week being, did WWE bring Dean Ambrose back too soon? I've got some interesting thoughts on this one. I think you're going to want to hear it. Then we'll close out the show with our Stars of the Night, the same way that we do every single episode. So without further ado, let's get to that Raw Rundown, because it is about to go down in a big way. Woo! Here are the only 5 things you need to know about Monday Night Raw this week. That's Monday Night Raw. If I could just say it right the first time, I wouldn't have to say it again, but I love talking about wrestling. So here we go. Number 5, Braun and Balor versus Mahal and Owens. Number 4, The Revival versus the Deleters of World versus the B-Team in a championship match for the Raw Tag Team titles. Number 3, the Ronda Rousey promo. Number 2, the Roman Reigns promo. And number 1, Dean Ambrose returns. Dean fucking Ambrose. So let's talk about it. Starting with number 5, we had Braun and Balor versus Mahal and Owens. Baron Corbin has been doing his whole Constable Baron Corbin shtick, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But I'm a bit tired of this storyline between him and Balor, where he's like, I'm big, you're small, I'm going to beat you every time, and then loses a lot of the time. He wins occasionally, but he tried to set up this whole thing between Balor and a handicap match, and it didn't work out for him because Kurt Angle came out and said, God damn it, Constable, I am in charge here, and I make the matches, so this is going to be a tag team match. Braun Strowman pinned Jinder Mahal in the end. Jinder Mahal, once again, we should discuss that he is the fastest person to ever go from champion to just absolute joke jobber. The match was what it was. It was fine. The good guys won, and I'm always on board with that. Up next was the Raw Tag Team Championship match, The Revival versus the Deleters of World versus the B-Team. Really, really fun match here. Didn't know what was going to happen, but the B-Team got the win. They pinned the Deleters of Worlds. It looks like this Deleters of Worlds story could be coming to an end. The Revival have moved into the championship picture. They're fighting on Sunday for the titles, so we'll see what's going to happen. But the B-Team are the champions still, but do the Revival have their number? I think there's a good chance that they do. We'll talk about that more in our prediction show. Make sure you listen to that. Number 3 was the Ronda Rousey promo. So Ronda came out and was given a promo, but the important part was not that. The important part is when Alexa came out and started dropping truth bombs on Ronda about her wrestling ability and how good Alexa actually is and how she's been champion for a really long time and how Ronda has struggled in the UFC and wasn't as tough as everybody said she was. It was really, really good. It was another reminder, like when we had the Moment of Bliss a few months ago, that Alexa is fire on the microphone. There's a reason that she's always champion. There's a reason that we love her. It's hard not to get behind her for all the right reasons and hate her because she's so good at being hateable. She's just the best. Really hope Ronda wins on Sunday. We'll see what happens. I'm not 100% sure what route they're going to go with on that one. But it should be a pretty mediocre match, honestly, because Alexa's not the best wrestler, and Ronda, I think, is going to get exposed a little bit. But Ronda's going to make it look like she's beating the shit out of Alexa, which I'm excited for. You're excited for. We're all excited for. So it's just going to be a lot of fun. Number 2 was the Roman Reigns promo. So Roman comes out interrupted by, he says the normal things that he's going to beat Brock Lesnar, blah, blah, blah. Paul Heyman comes out and interrupts him, and he goes on this whole spiel about how Roman can win if he just has Paul Heyman as his advocate. And he said, your father taught me all this stuff in Samoan about loyalty and trust and overcoming our weaknesses and blah, blah, blah. And he's doing all this stuff, and he's just like baiting Roman, and then bam, sprays him with pepper spray, and Brock music hits, and he beats the ever-loving shit out of Roman Reigns. It was a beating of a lifetime, making Roman look like a baby back bitch heading into this SummerSlam match. A beating like that, if Roman doesn't win, he is in trouble in terms of his legacy after this. He's got to win. This is a make or break for Roman Reigns and his booking and the experiment. I hope he wins and brings the title back to Raw, but if he doesn't, he is going on a downward spiral, and that is the final word on that. And finally, Dean Ambrose has returned. Dean Ambrose, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, definitely in my top 5 favorite wrestlers who are currently wrestling, has come back, and he is looking real jacked, baby. He's got a new haircut. His traps and his arms and his shoulders are enormous. He's cut to shit. I am so excited. I've been waiting for the Lunatic to return for the longest time. Seth brought him back to be in his corner for the match on Sunday, and what a happy return it was. But was it too soon? Was it the right moment? Nobody was upset seeing him, but could they have perhaps done it in a way that was a little more exciting or surprising? I mean, the pop was huge, but maybe not as big as it could have been if his music hit out of nowhere. We're going to talk about that more in the main event, but first, you got to let us know your thoughts on social media. And speaking of social media, it's time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on which Raw match will steal the show at SummerSlam. We'll give you a couple options, throw them up there. You can vote on Twitter by using the hashtag #HotTag, tweeting at us, or emailing us, tagmeinbro@gmail.com, whatever it is you want to do. By the way, be sure to follow us on Twitter at tagmeinbro and join our over 8,500 followers and all these debates, discussions, etc., etc. And if you reply to us, we might read out your response on this podcast because we always read out some of our favorite responses. Now let's talk about the results of last week's topic. Last week we asked you, who do you want to see leave SummerSlam with the Money in the Bank briefcase? The options were Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, or doesn't matter, cash in. In one of our closest polls of all time, Kevin Owens won with 39% of the vote, narrowly beating out doesn't matter, cash in with 38% of the vote. You guys are torn on this one, but what you do know is you pretty much don't want it to be Braun Strowman. I mean, that's amazing that Braun, the one who's actually holding the briefcase, lost so substantially, considering that just a few months ago he was probably the most over person in the company. I wonder if this is a reflection of the fact that people are starting to cool on him. Perhaps that'll be something that we talk about in the future. David Daniels at Daniels David said, Braun is Braun. He doesn't need a briefcase. The man's an absolute unit. Plus, if KO wins, do you really think he'd be dumb enough to cash in when we're all expecting it? I don't know if it's up to KO, but I like that you're keeping kayfabe on this, David. I really do. Zachary Shiloh at ZachShy130 said, Braun because it won it fairly. He's been winning his share of matches and is over with the crowd. WWE failed him last year. Be stupid to do that again. ... Well, Zach, I'm afraid that it seems like most of the people disagree with you on this one, but you made an excellent point that the company did fail him last year, and, if I'm being honest, I do want Kevin Owens to win it from him, but at the same time, I won't be disappointed if Braun does cash in, because the guy deserves it. He did his part. Now it's time for them to pony up and put that title on him, whether by cash in or by regular match. And finally, Frank Quilo at C.A. Durer said, a responsible adult. I get it. We just want someone to cash in and save us from Brock. I completely understand. Loved hearing your thoughts on this one. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on next week's topic.
Bullet Club is fine.
Let's take a spin to the indie corner. I want to talk about two things today. I want to talk about, very briefly, if you didn't know, Hiroshi Tanahashi won the G1. He beat Kota Ibushi. It was a phenomenal match. Please go watch it on New Japan World. Don't do yourself a disservice. The Ace came out on top, and now he's slated to face Okada and Jay White in the coming weeks in a defense of his contract. And if he comes out victorious, he will face the IWGP Heavyweight Champion at Wrestle Kingdom next year in January at the Tokyo Dome, which is currently Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega versus the Ace is frankly a match that I would love to see. I really want to see Kenny versus Kota, don't get me wrong, but Kenny is the current and the Ace is everything. He's the past, the future, the present. He is the symbol of New Japan in its modern era, and that match will be a classic. So, I hope we get to see it. And other than that, All In is coming up. It is going to be shown on pay-per-view. It's going to be on the Fight TV app and the Ring of Honor subscription service. It's coming up on September 1st. These guys have put in so much effort to this show. Don't do yourself the disservice of missing out on it. I think it's really going to be spectacular, and I think it's going to completely shift the view of independent wrestling. It's going to be a paradigm shift in the way that people view it, and the way that it's presented, and the way that these independent wrestlers organize themselves with what they do. It's truly a return almost to the old territory era, where just the best guys got together and said, you know what, we want to wrestle each other in a big, spectacular show, and I love it. I'm so proud of Cody Rhodes and the Bucks and everyone who got together and made this idea happen. Apparently, they made tons of money on this. I hope the show is great. I know it's going to be. Don't miss out on this one.
It's Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day.
And now it's time for the main event. This week in the main event, we're talking about, did WWE bring Dean Ambrose, the lunatic fringe, back too soon? Now, the Dean Ambrose return was this week, and let me just say from the forefront that my opinion on this is I don't even care. I'm just so glad that Dean Ambrose is back. I absolutely love him. He looks great. I'm excited for his potential feuds with so many people, including Roman and Seth, and possibly another title run because he's jacked up like crazy, and he deserves to be at the top of the card, maybe even the face of the company right now. Okay, I've said my piece. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit and talk about the fact that when WWE returns someone, there are many different ways they can do it, and I'm not sure that the way in which they returned Dean was best for business, quote unquote, but really that it was the most exciting potential return that they could have had. So Dean Ambrose, easily one of the most over baby faces in the company, hurts himself in the midst of an amazing tag team storyline back last December, I think, or January. I don't remember the exact date, but he went out and everyone was devastated because he was putting the company on his back and he was an absolute workhorse. So he gets hurt and he disappears for a long time. And in that time, we have been speculating nonstop on what the circumstances of his return will be. Would it be SummerSlam? Would it be Extreme Rules? Would it be Backlash? Would it be WrestleMania? I mean, people really didn't know. The timeline was very confusing. You were getting conflicting reports. So there was just so much that could have happened. And one of the most popular things that people believed was going to happen was that he was going to come back in a surprise and turn on Seth and become heel right away, because Dean has not been heel on the main roster, not counting the sort of early Shield days when they were all kind of heel-ish, but it was very unclear. And people wanted a heel turn. Now, I gotta admit, with the new look that he has, he very much looks heelish. So the chances of a heel turn are not impossible per se, but it hasn't happened yet. Now, I, for one, wanted him to come back in Seth's match against Elias and screw him over and build a big thing, Seth versus Dean, building into SummerSlam, with it being the biggest party of the summer. Now, obviously, the timeline didn't actually allow for him to return then. Otherwise, I think they might have done something like that. In my opinion, a surprise return to shock and awe, to have him come back and actually just destroy Seth, would have been the best route. But we end up getting this, convoluted storyline between Dolph and Seth, with Drew being the big bad defender, and Dean is the one who returns to be in Seth's corner. Now, I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, because I don't really see Dean in the same light as I see Drew. They're not like, I don't know. Dean's like, I guess he's a wild card, so he can sort of fight anyone, but I think of Drew in the same, like, size class as Braun. Like, he's massive. But Dean is a badass, so I guess he's not afraid of anyone. He's kind of got that Stone Cold vibe about him, where, like, he shows up and he's here to kick ass. So, it does work, but imagine if they had actually saved this for SummerSlam, for this pop, for, why do it on a random Raw in Greensboro, North Carolina? Nothing against them, but just, it's sort of like a very random choice. You have SummerSlam coming up, you wait a few more days, and you get that pop when his music hits. I mean, that rev, that like engine rev that everyone loves, so distinctive, and to get a huge pop that they can like use time and time and time again, it just seemed weird to do it almost as a throwaway, and it has me both hopeful and nervous, because either they did it this way to set up the idea that like Dean's back and he's buddy-buddy with Seth again, and they did the Shield Fist thing so that when he turns on Seth on Sunday, we're supposedly not going to expect it, or it's a sign of bad booking to come for Dean, and that they still don't respect him, and that they still won't put him in the light that he should be in, and that he'll continue to play second fiddle to Seth and Roman as far as former Shield members go. I mean, you think of some of the great returns. Obviously, the Hardys come to mind. You think about when Stone Cold's glass shattered after his long injury, and they got that crazy pop. Even Charlotte's pop after she returned just from having her recent surgery was sort of done better than Dean's return. And I guess it's one of those things where just everyone was so excited for Dean, including myself, that we kind of overlooked the context. But I don't know. I'm not sold yet. I'm still waiting for a heel turn from Dean this Sunday, and I know I keep harping on that, but I just think that's the best course of action moving forward. I also think that he should win that feud and then go on to be Roman's main opponent for the Universal Championship in the short term, because I would love to see a one-on-one series between them. If you think of some of the great matches they had, like at Survivor Series, the first time that Roman went on to win the WWE Championship, they've really had some incredible moments together. So we'll see. Not an all-time great return. Super excited to have Dean back. He looks amazing. I don't want to take away from that at all. He is a megastar. He's one of my favorites. I know you guys are happy to have him back because you told me on social media. That being said, that's the end of the main event. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I think I'm going to do a lengthier discussion about like actual return booking at some point. If you guys have any interest in that, let me know on social media. And with that being said, we're going to move on and close the show out the same way that we do every week with our Stars of the Night. Here are our Stars in the Night for Monday Night Raw, August 13th, 2018 edition.
You just made the list!
Number 3, Alexa Bliss. Alexa delivered one of her best promos to date, in my opinion. Really picked apart Ronda Rousey for sort of all the flaws that WWE has been ignoring up to this point, but also setting up what will be a very sweet victory by Ronda should she win and get one over on the goddess. Number 2 is Paul Heyman / Brock Lesnar for their beautiful deception of Roman Reigns, and once again proving that they are just so good at what they do, and when they're on TV, it's awesome. I love it. All of us here at the show love it. I know a lot of people disagree and are just so sick of Brock and can't wait for him to go, but I truly will miss him when he's gone. So will Taryn. So will Tommy. They did good work once again, and we will see perhaps one of the best matches of Brock's career this Sunday. I have a really good feeling that Roman versus Brock is going to finally be the match that it should be. But who knows, maybe they'll completely disappoint me. And anyway, the number one star is Dean Ambrose, just for showing up and being a jacked up son of a bitch. He looks so good. I can't get over it. He looks amazing. And Dean Ambrose, you deserve it. That'll do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud and Podbean and Spotify and YouTube and Stitcher and TuneIn and anywhere you can find podcasts. Then go and drop us a 5-star review if you like the show. If you don't like the show, drop us a 5-star review also, or tell us why. We always want to improve. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at TagMeInBro. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JFTantillo. Sorry again for the delay this week. It's been crazy now that there's no co-host and that John has completely left us. But we've got our security situation under wraps. I hope. We'll see what happens moving forward. Make sure to check out our prediction show this weekend and follow Tommy and Taryn as they attend NXT TakeOver Brooklyn live on Periscope and Twitter. They'll be bringing you lots of good stuff. Without further ado, I have been Joe Tantillo. Thank you so much for listening. You're the best fans on the internet. We love you. Goodbye, universe.